then we'll adjust it here. Hey, we are live. Awesome.
Live at 5.
Live at 5.
Beers, cheers, and happenings.
Beers, cheers, and happenings.
Very special guest today.
Yeah, we got a great guest. Do you want to introduce him?
You're the maestro. Have at it.
Okay.
I like your moves.
All right, sweet. My name's Peter Monti. Hopefully we get a few people viewing it here that have joined us in the past. And if you're watching this, record it. Thanks for watching as well. We're going to get into a lot of great content. So it's even if you don't catch it live, it's worth watching. This is Steve Bartell.
Hello.
He's our graphics and all around artist guy. And then today we have Dawson Moore, special guest. So we're excited to have him of Michigan Sloyd. You want to just give a little 1-2 sentence intro, what you're all about?
Or 3 if you need 3.
3 is fine.
4 we'll let slide.
All right. Yeah, my name's Dawson. I go by Michigan Sloyd for my business. And I'm a woodworker I'm across the bay from Beards over in Harbor Springs. And I do mostly spoons and that kind of thing. From the main deal is I start from the log rather than using dry timbers and stuff like that from the store. That's kind of the thing that makes it different from some other forms of woodworking, I suppose.
All right. Well, I'm just adjusting our setup here for a minute. Hold on.
And just so everybody knows, you're coming to us live from your home studio there.
Yes. Yeah, this is I'm here in my shop.
Mm-hmm.
And we interviewed you before, and we're able to, we have our show, the What's Your Craft show, and we have a good interview with you there where we really talked about the creative process and got some nice shots in your studio. It was a lot of fun to be there. One thing we always do on that show, which we like to do here, is crack a beer. So
I think you're ahead of us already.
Yeah,
you took a sip.
We're going to crack our beers. And if you're watching out there with us, please throw comments in. If you're drinking something, you want to share what you're drinking, that's cool. We love to talk about that. And if you got questions for us, we love to do that too.
Oh, he's got another crack. Thanks, Steve.
Number 2.
I got a Wunderbrau here myself. I'm going to have a cream ale today. Is this a vintage Beards Brewing Company?
So that is a pretty cool
2012.
It's engraved. We technically, made our company in 2012. It says Beards Brewing.
Oh, it does.
And that was my mother-in-law made those for us when we first started the kind of idea, and we technically incorporated. So
spilling beer all over.
No, I think it's actually just sweat. It's
very humid in northern Michigan today. Anybody that tells you that we don't have a summer with heat, they lie.
Yeah. So if you're out there again, just joining, we're just getting going. We're interviewing or just kind of chatting, hanging out with Dawson Moore of Michigan Sloyd, and we just cracked a beer. So please crack a beer. Join us. If you got questions as we're rolling, throw them in the comments.
Let us know what you're drinking in the comments there. We're always curious to see what everybody else is sipping on. All
right. So maybe we get into the heart of things today.
Yeah.
We were talking, you were introduced a little bit about the woodworking you do. I have a couple spoons that I got from you. I'm going to just solo this quick so people can see. This one, you can see it's like I use this guy a lot on the hot stove. I don't use my small spoon as much, but it's a great spoon as well. I just love, this is a great thing to cook with. Mm-hmm. It just feels really nice in your hand. It's smooth. It's got a lot of character, and I know we talked about this on the pre-recorded show on the What's Your Craft show, but
for those that didn't see it, it might be nice to give another overview of that process. Like you said, you start from the green wood.
The thing I was going to say is at the time I was worried. I was like, these things, they seem kind of slight in some sense,
That's right.
But this is I've been using it for a year, and I wasn't afraid to use it because you told me it's good.
And it's probably patinaed.
It's looking great.
I remember the coffee reference and everything.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's a fine looking spoon over there, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Happy to see you enjoying it. It's good.
Yeah.
Good use.
It is.
I spent all day making more of those cooking spoons. Actually, When the shutdown happened, I had just run out of spoon wood. So I've been out of wood for,
Wow.
yeah, 3 months, pretty much 3 months to the day. And I had the fortune of a little wood score a couple days ago. A guy approached me at market, a neighbor of mine that had he just cleared out some of his forest, and I went and bucked up a little log, and I've just been working on turning it into spoons the past couple days. I'm just I'll show you.
Yeah.
It's a bit of
look at that
pile from today. That's wood, draw knife shavings. This is axe shaving or axe chips there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there'll be plenty of those coming up here in the next
I see you got another type of axe in the background too. You've been doing a little music playing here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's
plug in.
Something to noodle around on. I've been starting my mornings with a little shred sesh.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Most excellent. So good. So you've mentioned at markets, are you getting back to some markets? I know you sell a lot through markets, but I'm sure that was a change. You work from home, so some of your daily work might not have changed, but certainly how you interact with customers maybe has changed through this. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, Harbor Springs Market, that's the one I've been doing the past few years now exclusively. It's the one right down on Main Street every Wednesday and Saturday during the summer. And they started off on Memorial Day, and I missed the first 2 or 3 because, I was considered non-essential. But the rules have since opened up to.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's interesting because you were. I got my computer here. Non-essential, but man, I cook with your spoon every day.
Yeah, pretty essential. That spoon is.
Yeah, it's very essential to me.
I appreciate that. I like to think so, but it's been interesting. It definitely. It's impacted things for sure. I still am on we're not really supposed to encourage people to loiter and hang out at the market. Like usually that's what it's all about is live music and picnic tables and sidewalk chalk and kids games, but that's all that's out the window this year. So usually I'd be demoing a bunch. And I don't know if I'll be able to do much of that or not this year, which is it's a big draw for people.
Right.
Really, in an instant, they can pretty much see my whole story of how these things get made. Yeah. And so,
that's a big part of the process, right? Of selling something that's handmade is helping people understand where, how it's made, where it came from, why there's value to it. I mean, that's part of the selling process, I would think. So,
yep. So that's a challenge. And then I haven't really right now. I'm kind of roping off my product to avoid customers touching it, which is also like.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. The feel of it, like when you pick one of these up and you're like, wow, that's not helpful. Smooth, and that's hard. Yep, so do you sell online too, though, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. I've had stuff available and continue to have stuff available on my website. I've always got stuff in stock there.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody what that website would be if they're interested?
That is
taking a look.
Michigan Sloyd, SLOYD.com. And same deal you can find me on Instagram at the same Michigan Sloyd.
Let me see. I might be able to type it in the comments for people that are looking for that. It's Michigan Sloyd, right? Not MI.
Michigan Sloyd. Yep. Michigan Sloyd. Yep.
There it is.
Perfect. There you go. Nice.
Bam. And for those watching, that's the website. You can check out some of his stuff, and you have a nice video on there that shows some of the process as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Just wanted to give a shout out to Ruben. He's joining us here. A couple thumbs up. Appreciate that.
Yeah, he's another carver buddy over in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
We had our first European check-in last week, actually. This is our second.
That we know of. Because he was commenting. Yeah. If Ruben, if you got questions, you're obviously a carver, so you're interested in it. But if you're like a topic that we should hit up, throw it in the comments. I'd love to touch on that. Finding a way to explain what you do and bring that value online. I mean, it seems natural that like, oh, we can tell a story through the internet, and we can use our resources. But I think sometimes there's something that you can't quite substitute for the touch, like you're saying,
in-person experience.
The in-person experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that does.
I totally agree. I think some people have the perception I do most of my sales and stuff online, and it's not the case. It's way more at the farmers market, and I definitely it's something I really enjoy is interacting with the people, one-on-one or face-to-face kind of interactions. And so, yeah, it's definitely, I don't know. We're just going to have to see what the summer holds here. I don't really know. It's tough to say.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, if you're just joining us, welcome. This is the Beers, Cheers, and Happenings show. We have our special guest, Dawson Moore of Michigan Sloyd today. He does some really cool woodworking. And if you have a question or you want to talk about a beer, we all cracked a beer, throw it in the comments. Let us know what you're drinking. Let us know if you got any questions of what we're talking about today. I was curious, Dawson, I know we're always working on different angles, different projects. Is there some new products, or even if they're not for sale yet, new things you're experimenting with during this time?
Yeah, definitely. When the shutdown first happened, it was kind of interesting. It coincided. I just got back. I was traveling in Minnesota up at the North House Folk School. There was an event up there. It's called Wood Week, and it was I took quite a bit of inspiration out of that week. I got to see some old time acquaintances within the craft scene, and there's a handful of chair makers that I got to hang out with up there, and it kind of reinvigorated me to dabble in my chair making a bit more. And I was
going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I mentioned I ran out of spoon wood. Right.
Yeah.
And then, but I did have a giant oak log in my little log yard out back, which is what I use for chairs. And so,
okay.
So do you want to, this is actually perfect that you're getting into this. Ruben had asked, he said he'd love to hear more about the chair making process.
Let's see.
He has some real specifics here. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So
so you got the question there?
Yep.
You can give him some specifics.
Yep. So I don't have one. Well, I do have kind of an example, but the Democratic chair, that's a specific name for there's this or a wider known chair type called Windsor chairs. And it's basically, the basic definition is where you have a solid wooden seat and you've got the legs and undercarriage connecting to the seat from below, and you have spindles in the back connecting into the seat from above. And it's the other type of chair he mentioned, post and rung. I'm actually sitting in one right here. So that's where.
Here, hold it up for a second. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
are continuous. They're not meeting in the middle at a seat.
Yep.
And have separate joinery. It's all one.
And
thing.
that's one you made there?
This is one of the ones I made. And
That's slick.
yeah, I think they're both interesting and fun in their own right. But
is that blue chair you have the other style? That blue chair that we've seen before, that blue screen chair? Okay, that's what I thought.
That's what I was like picturing in my head when you were talking. I was picturing that chair when you were talking about the way the other type was.
So both are fun. Both involve shaving sticks of oak as some of the major components. And then that's really all a post and rung is. It really is just a few, like, what is it? It's about 18 or 20 oak sticks that are all connected. And then the Windsor chairs are probably about the same amount of sticks, but then you've got this big wooden seat to carve, which is, it's kind of fun. It's like, I kind of almost view it as a giant spoon or like a bowl or something like that. So it, both chair types were cool in the fact that it's just a continuation of my spoon work. It really was all the exact same techniques and tools and everything like that. The weaving. Okay, so interesting.
Yeah, asking about, because the one you're sitting on has a weaved base that you showed there. Yeah.
Yep. So this is. This material is called Danish paper cord. It's literally just craft paper spun, like any other fiber, into a rope. It's like a 3-ply twist, like any rope. And it just so happens that I, all growing up when I was younger, I did one of my main hobbies was decorative rope work and knots and stuff.
Wow,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's not like a
what is I don't even know what is
rope
decorative
work.
rope work like outside of. I guess I'm picturing like nautica type things.
It's nautical. So yeah, it's this. It's kind of like has this whole history from the era of tall ships and older sailboat work and stuff like that. And it would have been a hobby practiced by sailors. It was kind of like the more decorative side of it was like just a means to express their craftsmanship and knowledge of.
So it was all like, was it functional art then?
It'd be a mix. It'd be based in function, but then it can get purely decorative as well. Okay. But
maybe they make like hammocks to lounge on their ship, right?
Yeah, or like
weave work.
all kinds of woven and braided stuff. Chest handles, the handles for their sea chest. Can be made out of like several types of intricate knots and braids and different things like that.
So, sorry, did you have more on that?
It was just kind of it was. So for me, the weaving is quite fun. It kind of is an excuse to incorporate something from my past that I really enjoy. Don't get to do much of, but I do like that it's fully functional and not just decorative now. But
what's really cool that you have that like historic link, I mean, to your history, right? Where that is a technique that you had played with before, in a different phase of life, maybe, but here it comes back. Is there, I just got thinking, because Ruben said he's cracking open a Black Fox cider.
Hey, okay.
And I was thinking about cider, and it made me think about different types of woods. I mean, apples, apple wood. When you had mentioned oak earlier, is there a type of wood for chairs that is best, or versus spoons, or you use different types or similar wood types?
You use in part of what I really like about the craft, just personally, this is the way I kind of approach it, is I'm drawn to using the appropriate wood. And usually that in my case, it's always finding which local woods, do what job the best kind of thing. And so it's not necessarily out of, care for the environment, all that kind of environmental stuff. That's a nice secondary thing. But for me, it's like just about using what I have available on the farm or my immediate surroundings. And there's just something about learning how to best utilize what's already here and what's available. And so the spoons, there's a handful of native hardwoods that I like for the spoons. I do a lot of beech and black cherry mostly for the spoons, with a little bit of the hard maple and stuff like that. And then, but for the chairs, you need a lot of like tensile strength, and you need a wood that can bend a lot of the time. Like I'll show you a little bit. This chair, okay, so the front seat rail's bent, and then a steam bend, and then you can see kind of how thin these slats are.
Yeah, but they have a little curvature to them too.
A tiny bit, and I added more to I have another one of these chairs upstairs that I did more of a pronounced bend. But so oak is a great candidate for that around these parts. And the same guy I just scored that cherry from he actually has a few ash logs that would also be appropriate for chairs. And I kind of just wrote off using ash just because I didn't think I'd be able to get much with it all dying off. But I'm excited to maybe get to try a little bit of ash for some chairs as well. I definitely
we have ash floor at the brewery in the mezzanine
upstairs.
Okay.
I like it. Yeah, like you said, I was like, oh, ash is going away. I mean, the emerald ash borer is killing a lot of it off, but there's a lot of ash in the state of Michigan. So as a source, I mean, there's going to probably be years of wood to work with till it goes away, and it might revive. Who knows? Maybe the bug loses in the long term.
Yeah. So I'm excited to use that. The oak does have quite a red. Up here we mostly have red oak. We may have a little bit of white oak around, but so the red oak definitely has a red tinge, which I don't particularly like, and that's what I do these kind of lime milk washes, and I might be able to avoid that altogether with the ash is a nice kind of creamy white tones to it. So I'm excited to try that. But those are the two woods. At least for the post and rung, the Windsor chairs are interesting because the really skinny sticks above that you use for the back of the chair and all the bent parts would be oak or ash or something like that. And then the bottom components, they're often turned. It's not, I shave all mine, so I stick with oak, but a lot of people use a rock maple because it takes a really crisp turning, and it's still got the strength you need and stuff for those legs.
So I just wanted to give a quick shout out. We, if you're just joining us, we have Dawson Moore of Michigan Sloyd today on the Beers, Cheers, and Happenings. Steve, Peter, with Beard's Brewery, and we started a show called What's Your Craft Show, where we interview artisans and crafters, and Dawson was one of our early episodes. So we thought it'd be really fun to catch up with him live.
Check in,
here.
see what he's been up to.
I did see, there was a few more comments. We've been talking about chairs. He does a lot of spoon work. And I appreciate anybody giving us a shout out on what they're drinking. Here's a good oatmeal stout, which we have a great oatmeal stout, Brimley stout.
Yes.
Steve did a killer art for. I don't have it right here, but that's a lot of fun. If you go to beardsbrewery.com, you can go to the art. I think we have it up there, right? On the beers page.
Yep.
So good stuff. Thanks for joining us. If you got questions for Dawson or questions about beer for us,
or anything else,
or questions for beer about Dawson,
we always say we always have answers. They might not be the right answers, but we'll come up with something.
We'll make something up.
Yeah, we'll make it up.
Yeah, so please throw questions in. We appreciate the engagement. I was thinking as you were talking through the different woods you use, and I'm not into I don't do the art, so I'm not in all the details of it. But I think that that kind of thing always fascinates me. You were saying you use a lot of the spoon practices in even it's like making the bowl of the chair is like a big spoon in some ways.
Well, I remember you saying last time we talked actually about how that was the foundation. That's what you started with. I think it was on your mother-in-law's or your mother's porch. You had a nice spot to set up, and you said carving that spoon basically was the best way or one of the best ways to learn the foundations of everything else you wanted to get into.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of a way into wood carving.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. I definitely feel that way. It was, I think chairs in particular are often viewed as quite a big challenge as far as woodworking goes. A lot of woodworkers are kind of
they look like it.
Yeah, and I would.
Well, you don't want to fall on your butt, right?
Right. But like the angles, and there's a lot of angles with you don't. It's just there's a lot of tricky things about it, and I would consider I was in that boat of being a bit intimidated by it.
Mm-hmm.
But in these past couple of months, I've been so glad at about the path I took in woodworking with the spoons. It's like such a humble start, but it's kind of unassuming and doesn't seem like that big of a deal, or like you would have much application in other forms of woodworking. But for me, I just feel like I just did a 5-year apprenticeship in hardcore woodworking, and it just the chairs were just kind of flowing. All the hand work skills I've already done. It was totally intuitive in that regard. I could focus entirely on the joinery and kind of the plans and how to bring all the pieces together, and not worry at all about what kind of wood to use or how to process it or how to get the finish I want. All that stuff was already figured out in the years of doing spoons. So it was just really cool. It felt great, and it was just it's a neat. It was a nice. It gave me some nice perspective on the path I've taken the past few years.
So
I'm still doing a lot of spoons too.
People need spoons.
I had a question related to this, where I was going with spoons. You kind of started. Now you're making chairs. A lot of the Sloyd technique, and you mentioned this in our interview on the What's Your Craft show, is about functional items. And one thing I thought might be interesting, because you also just hit on this. You said upstairs I got a different version of this chair or something like that. You're in your house, which in your basement, you built your studio, so you work from home.
Garage.
What about walk us through a day in the life at your house, like all the uses of the things you've made, right? Like kind of like where you interact with, because I know you've made a lot of things you haven't really sold as well, like different unique one-offs.
Well, I've had the pleasure to use your bathroom before there, and he even has constructed his whole cabinetry and everything, his countertop and stuff, and that's pretty slick. So
I think that'd be fun for people to relate with all the practical uses of what you do, and
might
kind
be
of
sleeping
walking
on a
through,
belly
in your house, like what's something that you do, or like walking through your day, how do you interact with your practical items?
Well, a lot of it's kitchen based. Like it's spoons, but it's also cups and bowls and different cutting boards and things like that. And it's not necessarily all from me. I definitely like collecting stuff from other craft buddies and stuff like that. Like one of my favorite items in our house is honestly our wooden plates that my buddy Jared did a little. We have a set. We have just one plate for each person in our family, which is kind of nice. Big ones for the adults and little ones for the kids.
Nice.
I think fun. I probably use the little ones more. And then parts. I definitely had a hand in a lot of the house build and stuff like that. A few odds and ends of furniture around the house. The chairs is definitely becoming a bigger component of that. I have like a little nightstand. That was actually one of the first projects I built. That was when I was back out in California, all solid wood dovetailed drawers and that kind of thing. That's my wife's nightstand. A lot of what I end up really taking joy in around the house is more outside. I really love, we've spent a lot of time working on our veggie garden in the past few weeks. And I really like mowing and like making trails and weed whipping.
Yeah. We have all that land.
Yeah. So I'm on my family's farm and kind of each year try to expand our little trail system and stuff like
that's
that.
Cool.
And I love our young daughter, Evie, is just like getting to the age where she can walk as long as it's like a mowed path ahead of her. She'll walk wherever. But that's kind of my motivation right now is making it so I don't have to carry her all over.
Well, there's something that
makes sense.
Interesting in crafting something that is, there's an impermanence to it, right? Like you were saying, you enjoy like mowing and like making trails, but that stuff goes away, right? You have to like do it again sometimes. And also in you making things like the spoons will last a long time, maybe even your lifetime, but you're always like making different things. And for us, it's kind of like that, because I've thought about that. We make beer, and I see we have a question here about beer from Gideon. After a good day in the shop / brewery, so kind of for both of us, what kind of beers do you guys reach for? And I think it's interesting from a crafter's perspective, making something that you have to keep making, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't like just stop. And I think that also the benefit to that is that it lets you keep getting better and honing and refining that. There was a comment up earlier that you made that you spent 5 years making a spoon making machine. Because I'm thinking, right? So
I have a bit of a reputation for being somewhat of a robot in my production.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting. But if you're just joining us, we have Dawson Moore of Michigan Sloyd. We're kind of talking about craft at different impermanence. I do want to get to this question of what beer do we reach for, or what kind of beers after a long day spoon carving or a long day at the brewery. Do you want to take the lead on that, or do you want me to, Dawson?
I'll go real quick.
Okay.
For the past several years, I've been on a huge session IPA kick. I loved in my Southern California days IPAs.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking.
Nice.
Drinking our session. Oh, this is Trinity.
Nice. That's a great one. Out in Southern California, IPAs ruled the day. So that was kind of my main jam out there. But definitely, I quite like the low octane session. Full bodied, it just can be a bit much for with the young kids and stuff like that. But the session's a great thing to have at 5 p.m. in my opinion. And,
I agree.
And then I've really been into the juicy and hazy, the New England style IPAs as well have been a favorite the past several years.
Okay. No, that's a great answer. I mean, a little teaser. We're throwing out a even lower, even more session. We're calling it low.
Even more
Seasonality. It's 2.5% alcohol, 80 calories. But the hop flavor is really dynamite and even more pronounced because you're not as balanced with the malt. So that's coming out soon, and we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah,
we'll get you some of that.
We'll get you some to try for sure.
Yeah.
Steve, do you have a beer?
Well, I was just going to say, for me, it just depends on the time of year. So in the winter, I might go for our Serendipity Porter. I enjoyed that quite a bit last winter. Right now, I'm all about Copper Star. It's out in cans, so I try to keep a few in my fridge, and it's always on tap at the pub. So it seems like summer is Copper Star season for me now. So
for me, seasonality plays a lot.
It does
into it, but
because if it's really hot in the summer, then I'm looking for something lighter.
Yeah.
And then in the winter, I might work 6 hours in the shop in the winter. I'll probably sweat less than 2 hours in the shop in the summer, so it feels a little bit different in what you want.
Yeah. So if you're just joining us, we're answering this question. We have Dawson Moore of Michigan Sloyd on with us as well. He said he likes IPAs, session IPAs, as well as hazies has kind of been his go-to after a long day in the shop. And then I got Steve, our graphic artist, and he just gave his answer. So for me, grabbing, I do also lend towards the Seasonality a lot, our session IPA that I was showing earlier. That's actually what I'm drinking today, but partly why is just because, like Dawson was saying, like something that isn't gonna overwhelm
with the ABV,
you right away. But I also like a beer with a lot of flavor, so I like that the hop is forward.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, and then I'm also always been a fan, even when I had liquor drinks and stuff, and which I don't drink a ton of liquor. I often tend towards citrusy flavors, like grapefruit, fresh grapefruit or orange. And so this, all Citra hop, that's what I really like.
I was going to say one beer that might be a perfect answer for this that I don't think we made that often, but was it last summer we put out Working Man?
Working Man. That's great beer.
I thought that might have been your answer.
Yeah.
Because I know that, isn't that your recipe?
Yeah.
Too? Yeah.
A good ode to Rush there too, but actually California Common Ale, which uses a special lager yeast. So,
but that's a session, isn't it, or no?
It was like 6%.
Oh, maybe
no,
not
it wasn't
so much.
necessarily session. It was a lager, and it was.
But it was called Working Man.
Yeah, it's called Working Man. We do it.
That's right when the day's done. So, yeah.
And that was a great question from Gideon. I think he responded here as well. Season is a big part of it. Love the occasional sour in the summer.
There you go.
Have we ever made a sour? And we did. We had a sour on for a little bit. Tarta Gold. That was a good name. Tarta Gold.
Neil Young.
But we haven't done a ton with them. And we also we've done a couple barrel age projects where we intentionally inoculated the barrels with some Brettanomyces and some other Pediococcus, which is a souring bacteria as well. So, but have you drank many sours, Dawson? Do you like sours?
I don't have much experience with them, to be honest. I've tried a few back in the day, and it wasn't my cup of tea. So I'd be willing to try a few now. It's definitely been a few years.
Awesome. We're talking about what kind of beers you like after a long day at work. And I see we've got a few more people chiming in here. 95% spiritus in the fridge. That's not for drinking. I'm not. We also got Benjamin Birch here. He is agreeing. We were talking about seasonality plays a lot of times into what we go to reach for at the end of the day. Brimley Stout in the winter. Now it's Green Hundo. Green Hundo is we haven't canned that yet, although it is something we're considering canning because it's taken off. It's just we wanted to make something straightforward that's all Centennial hop IPA. Get back to some basic classic hops that were early on in the sort of craft beer movement. So Green Hundo is our answer to that, and it's really taken off in our pub, and probably put it in a can at some point.
Sounds like a plan.
But you can get it in a growler, and you can get it at the pub. So, have you had that one, Dawson?
No, I'll have to try that one. Sounds like something I'd like for sure.
Yeah, I think last summer we started introducing it into the mix a little bit, but it's a fairly standby now IPA.
I'm due for a visit, Dawson, so I'll bring you a holler out when I come.
Sounds good to me.
I need to get one of those little the 2-pronged forks.
Oh
yeah.
If you have any, or I'll have to commission one or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Or put me on the list coming up.
Got a couple dozen in stock right now.
All right, perfect.
Do you have any of the drinking cups? I need one of those.
I do not. I just sold out of those. I had made
good.
a bunch right before I went to that Wood Week event back in March. But yeah, I just had that was another. I don't know. Kind of fell by the wayside. I got chair mania took over, and
yeah, that's
Well,
cool.
man,
Last time we talked, you had the one chair, so now it sounds like you're getting more and more into the furniture, huh?
Yeah.
We had you had a couple tables too, but you just had the one chair, I believe, at the time.
Yeah, I think I did about 7 in the
Wow.
2 months of the lockdown.
Holy cow.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a ton of fun.
That's cool.
Well, if you make some more of the drinking vessels,
Put Peter on the list.
Yeah, text me or something. Be like, I got one. I will buy it. I want one of those. Those things are epic.
They are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely make more of those in the future.
Yeah.
They're fun. What do we got?
Well, so other than woodworking, which is, your craft, is there other, and you've been noodling on guitar, you said.
Yeah.
Or,
You gotta get in the back.
what else have you been doing to fill the time?
He works both
here
types of
recently?
axes.
Well, if it wasn't building chairs, I went pretty heavy on trying to learn more about the history of furniture design. I know a guy that works at a furniture design school, and he was kind of giving me some great reading material. So learning a lot about, anything from totally contemporary chairs, and it's all mostly been chairs. I went pretty heavy on learning about the Danish modern, but also just even, more vernacular styles. We were talking about Windsor chairs. I was delving into some American Windsor chair history and stuff like that. But yeah, that was kind of a good 2-month chunk. Then kind of transitioned into the gardening and stuff like that. Was a good 2 or 3 weeks of just focusing on the garden and that kind of thing.
You mentioned the gardening. That's it. I mean, growing things is great. There's nothing quite like it. And that's what we talked a little bit about, the impermanence too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's something you're gonna eat, but it's like nourishing and it's like part of your life, but it's like you have to keep working at it.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
Oh, it was just I had 2 solid months of inspiration that kept me going, and I kind of hit a wall and just wasn't feeling the shop work as much. So it was like just a good thing to have an outlet and still kind of do the manual labor and kind of get out my heebie-jeebies to, just some good old-fashioned hard work.
Well, and coming out of the winter too, getting out in the sun, mixing it up. So we got another question here that I thought would be great. I saw Gideon said he'd love to hear a little bit about design/brand. It's a big part of beer advertising. So how about for Dawson, regard to your stuff and like the milk paint colors you talked about, how does design play into your brand?
It's definitely at this point I feel like it's a bit more established Certainly in the first couple of years I was doing this, I put tons of thought and energy into my overall, I guess, the branding and all that kind of stuff, but or just kind of, I guess, my point of view, you could say. Really thought about it intensely for the first couple of years, and still do. I feel a little bit comfortable with where I've gotten, and a bit, it's a bit more second nature at this point, but definitely influenced by, like I mentioned, kind of like the Danish modern kind of, just some of the, I don't know if my stuff would necessarily fit in exactly to that, but some of the thought behind that. And then, in turn, a lot of those designers were influenced by like shaker design here in America. And so a lot of the same design principles of being, highly focused on function, very,
but I think, when you talk about brand, like what makes you unique, this is something, this was kind of the question, like design and brand. As a brewery, we do a lot. Well, image has always been important to us. I had a bit of a visual eye early on starting. So, but one thing that I noticed that you do that, is very unique too, is like that, like accent piece, the little bit of color, but also like
the bevels as well, right?
Bevels, right? So people, like kind of, nobody's gonna make the spoon with the same type of character that you have. There's some things in here, like the detail there.
I gotta get one of those too. Dang it!
This we use a lot.
I'm bring a pocket of cash out.
You were telling me about discipline earlier. The good wooden spoon is good for that too.
Yeah, I have 2 children, so
yeah, and
I haven't struck the children yet, but maybe I'll think about it if I have a nice enough spoon.
If you have a nice enough spoon for it, right? You don't want to hurt.
I took a few spoons over my childhood.
Yeah.
Had a paddle on top of the fridge. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So, anyways, but I think design and branding, that's a question someone asked. One thing that I think you have to kind of wrestle with is not being so stuck in whatever you come up with that you can't continue that creative spark that got you started, right? Like I think a lot of us who are into kind of craft,
you hit on something that people like or works.
Yeah, and we talked in some of our What's Your Craft Show interviews. It's easy to then be like, well, now that defines me. That's it.
That's what
right?
I do. Yeah.
It's like if you stopped at spoons and said, well, I can sell spoons and people know me for spoons, but you're on to chairs, you're on to the next thing. I think it's hard to, for us, it's like we explore with different beers. We also are exploring some other options in products and things and creativity. It'd be, I mean, we're doing a live show, right? We have a brewery. So I think we have to kind of, you don't want to stop there. You don't want to say, my brand has now defined me so much that I can't be that creative that got me interested in this in the first place.
Right. And as an outside observer, I would say one thing that I admire about your brand and what I think something that we bring to the table and all the best companies do is authenticity. I mean, you live what you're doing to the fullest as far as I can see as an outside observer. Like I said, from, even your shop is everything's done with purpose, and it's quite immaculate, actually, if you get to get over there and see it and stuff. But your tool making,
blow it up. You can see like the walls.
But I would say that's one of your strongest branding strengths is that you're super authentic.
Yeah.
If you don't bullshit, then you don't have to cover bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and I did to Peter's point when I like my name, Michigan Sloyd. I did. It's pretty general Like when I chose that, a big part of the reason was because it could act as an umbrella for many things.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
What we talked about naming, and I'm not going to get down on anybody that does this, but when we named the brewery, we said we were the first ones to open in Petoskey. There were no other announced ones at the time. We said, should we name it, after the town? But we felt like that could limit us a little bit to where we're at and what we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing we looked at is, like, a lot of people don't know this now, but like Bell's Brewery is Kalamazoo Brewing Company. But
they rebranded.
Yeah.
When they got to a certain size.
They got to a point that it said, like, the city Kalamazoo is great. That's where we're from, but we're more than just Kalamazoo, right? Like
that's the foundation.
Yeah, yeah.
And you celebrate that, but if you
you need a brand that's big enough for it. And like last week we were talking to Fermenta, which is a women's craft collective, and they said, we picked Fermenta. It's not just
things that
beer. Yeah, it's like we do other fermented things. Like there's people in our collective that's like kimchi, or whatnot. So that kind of opens you up, like picking a brand that's big enough for your vision. I think that's important.
And also, like, kind of says who you are, what you are is great too. I mean, obviously we have the word brewery in our name, but Michigan Sloyd, pretty much tells the story if you look into what Sloyd is,
Yeah, and it was another just aspect of that was it all coincided. I had mentioned we had been living out in Southern California, and I started doing all this woodwork right around the time we moved back, and it was, the whole, all the feelings of moving back to our home state and stuff were kind of at the forefront of my mind at the time, and that, I don't know, I just felt a really strong connection to where we grew up, kind of thing, and it definitely, the location definitely, just like we were talking earlier, the wood, it's all the work I do is the wood is specific to where we are and that kind of thing. It's I don't know. Yeah. It's just all kind of a strong connection to where we live and that kind of thing.
So if anyone is newly tuning in, we're talking with Dawson Moore. We'll probably be wrapping up in the next 10 minutes. We do have some other questions to get to. I saw that came in. And if you do have a question yet, please throw it in the chat. We'd love to address it here. So let's get into the next one here. Dawn asks, wondering what lessons learned you guys have implemented on going forward from coming out of this pandemic, maybe inventory, suppliers, distribution. And I'm happy to take that as an opener. And maybe I'll leave that up for a second for people that are reading it. But one thing that I noticed for us is, as a smaller brewery, in some sense, we are nimble because we're not a giant company. But in other senses, we're fairly conservative about our approach to things. So we don't like to change too quick because we feel like, we want to make sure we've researched and thought it out. However, obviously the pandemic came very quick, very little notice. And so we had to react, and the value of a good team at that. We always prized our team, but I think it was great to see how the team came together and how we were able to react. So I think we've learned how to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more nimble. But I also don't think that we're 100% out of the gate. I think the next 6 to 12 months are going to be hard, and there'll be a lot of lessons learned. So keeping our eyes open for that. So that's kind of some stuff we've learned. How about you, Dawson?
Kind of still a giant question mark for me.
Yeah.
I just don't even know.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying. I don't know that the lessons have all been learned.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just know that one thing I go back to is like being able to handle change, right?
Innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel very, I mean, the whole time I've been doing my business, I keep my overheads extremely low.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately,
That's huge.
So I do feel like I have the ability to pivot when needed. Right now it's just like I don't know what way to pivot.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big, I don't know.
Well, chairs, that's good, right? A lot of people are sitting these days at home, literally sitting at home. So getting into chairs.
Yeah. Comfy chair helps.
Yeah. It's
wild. It seems like you have to, I mean, you're literally almost taking it day to day.
really,
Everything, because there's so many changes that are in the process.
Yep. I didn't know I was starting markets until the day before I went to my first market. So I didn't even have 24 hours to prepare. So it's just
wild.
wild. Yeah.
That is the hard thing. Short notice on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of coming to a close here. I'm not sure if there's anything else you wanted to say. Gideon had thrown up. He's been engaged. I appreciate that. Great chat. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Gideon.
Ruben had a lot of nice comments. And if you're just watching, we're trying to do this. We're calling it Beers, Cheers, and Happenings. Once a week on Wednesdays, live at 5. Wednesdays, live at 5.
That's right.
We interview different people. It has been just Steve and I talking to ourselves before, which is good too if you got questions. But thanks everyone for joining. Dawson, it's been great chatting with you. Is there anything else you want to say? Could you also maybe just let people know where, if they're interested in learning about your woodworking, we mentioned it earlier, but where they could look up and learn more about you?
Yeah. So again, the Instagram's a good place to just see what I'm up to currently and get updates and that kind of thing. And it's just Michigan Sloyd, my handle on there. And then my website is the same. It's michigansloyd.com. And there's some videos and different information on the website and all my products, of course.
Great.
Yeah, and thanks for having me, guys. It's been fun to chat with you. Hopefully we can hang out.
Yeah, it was good to see you, but be better in person soon.
Sometime soon. Thanks.
All right. And I'd also like to mention, if you want to hear more from Dawson or us, you can check out that What's Your Craft episode.
Yeah. The What's Your Craft show, we upload those all to YouTube. So
we actually shot it at Dawson's in the studio, so you get some,
you can see him doing the process. Yeah. You can learn more. We really, on that too, we dove into like the creative process and what it's about, like how you got into it, what the craft looks like, and what your creative process looks like. So if you're interested in learning more of that, please check out the What's Your Craft show on YouTube. And if you find Dawson's episode interesting, you might like a kind of our theme for the show is like what unites creators, right? So a lot of very different people we talk to, from rally racers, which is our latest episode, to painters, to musicians. So it's interesting to find the trends there. So, all right.
Well, cheers, Dawson. I don't know if you got anything to sip. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.